Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to our latest explainer. Today, we're taking a really hard look at the invisible and, frankly, kind of dangerous line between mathematical accuracy and perceived fairness. We're going to unpack a pretty costly lesson learned by Instacart when their dynamic pricing algorithm clashed directly with their customers' trust. Because, look, your AI might be perfectly tuned to maximize margins, but what happens when that exact same optimization makes your users feel completely cheated? Let's find out.
So imagine this absolutely infuriating scenario. You and your next door neighbor are hanging out, right? You both pull out your phones. You open the exact same grocery delivery app at the exact same time to buy the exact same bag of chips from the exact same local store. But when you get to the checkout screen, your bill is wildly higher than theirs. I mean, for the exact same item, they pay $3.99 while you're hit with a bill for $5.20. And the crazy part? You weren't hacked, you didn't do anything wrong, you were just caught in the crosshairs of an AI pricing algorithm that was operating entirely in the dark.
And, this isn't just some hypothetical thought experiment. A recent Consumer Reports investigation actually blew the lid off this exact scenario involving Instacart. They caught the platform running hidden, randomized AI pricing experiments. Because these algorithms were operating entirely behind the scenes, the platform was basically charging some users significantly more than others for completely identical items. Now, Instacart claimed these were just, random tests to match in-store prices, but the core issue the product managers really need to wake up to here is algorithmic secrecy.
Now, what's really interesting here is the sheer scale of the mistake. Look at that massive penalty, 23%. Consumer Reports found that the price variance in these hidden experiments went all the way up to 23%. I mean, just imagine paying nearly a quarter more for your weekly groceries simply because a piece of software secretly decided you were the perfect lab rat for a randomized test. The sheer audacity of a system just quietly siphoning more money from specific users without their knowledge. Well, that's exactly what shatters consumer confidence.
This whole thing perfectly highlights the painful tension between the machine and the user. The algorithm? Well, it views this purely as margin optimization. It's just crunching numbers like a cold, highly efficient accountant. But the customer views this as manipulation, unfair convenience fees, and basically forced inflation. And here is where the optics get really painful for a brand. The biggest failure wasn't the math. It wasn't the price difference itself. It was the complete lack of visibility. Customers had zero idea they were part of an experiment. They got no explanation, no notification, and absolutely no way to opt out. And this brilliantly illustrates the human side of the equation. Pragmatic Institute instructor Amy Graham really hit the nail on the head here. She points out what a company perceives to be a negligible price test might not feel negligible to a stressed-out customer. Because let's face it, pricing fairness isn't just a mathematical outcome generated by some neural network. It is fundamentally a human perception problem. Consumers are already feeling the squeeze of inflation everywhere else. When an algorithm's pricing feels random, hidden, or inconsistent, it just instantly destroys customer trust. And once that trust is gone in a highly competitive market, getting it back is next to impossible.
So I want you to really think about this brutal question for a second. Would you ever walk into a physical grocery store, look a customer straight in the eye, and charge them 20% more for an apple just to test their price elasticity? No way, right? Of course you wouldn't. It would be entirely unethical and super confrontational. So why on earth are we letting AI do exactly that online? We absolutely have to stop treating AI pricing as this untouchable black box that is somehow exempt from basic human etiquette.
And that brings us directly to the solution, the presentation layer. This is the critical interface that communicates the why behind a price change. It transforms a cold, hard AI calculation into a truly human-centric product experience. You see, a pricing strategy doesn't stop at the math. How you communicate a price change to your user is literally just as important as the price itself. The algorithm calculates the number, sure, but the presentation layer builds the bridge of understanding. Without that bridge, you essentially just have a hostage situation.
To truly understand why this presentation piece is so absolutely critical, look at this brilliant psychological truth from Paul Young at Pragmatic Institute. He says, if you tell a customer they are getting a 20-cent discount, it feels like a massive win. But if the system secretly charges them 50 cents more, it feels like a penalty. It's all about framing, right? Framing and consent. Algorithms might flawlessly calculate the absolute optimal price, but human judgment determines if that communication builds a relationship or burns it straight to the ground. So the crucial point is that AI doesn't eliminate the need for human oversight.
Actually, scratch that. It exponentially increases it. To survive the AI era, product professionals really need to step into the role of the pricing steward. A pricing steward provides that mandatory human oversight to AI pricing models, ensuring that algorithmic optimization never crosses the line into manipulation. The model might spit out a number, but you, the product leader, you must own the ultimate judgment behind whether that price is actually fair to the human paying it. Think of this as your new job description. All right, now that we understand the philosophy, let's get tactical. Here is your exact playbook for deploying AI pricing without ending up on the front page of a PR scandal. It boils down to 3 rapid-fire rules. Step 1, eradicate the black box. Step 2, explain the why. And Step 3, never experiment in the dark. Let's break each of these powerful tactics down so you know exactly how to execute them in your own products. Tactic 1, eradicate the black box. Listen, if you do not know exactly what data your pricing model is using, you are exposing your company to massive regulatory risk. Regulators around the world are actively cracking open opaque algorithms right now to look for problematic logic and biases against protected classes. Ignorance of your AI's logic isn't a defense anymore, it's a massive liability. As a product manager, you've got to be able to completely audit and explain your model's inputs at a moment's notice. Moving on to tactic 2, explain the why. Radical transparency is absolutely always your greatest defense against user backlash. You know, when customers actually understand the logic behind a price difference, they usually accept it without a fuss. For example, if your user interface clearly explains that they are paying a premium because, say, they chose faster delivery or because they selected a preferred brand during peak hours, it makes sense. You must design your UI to clearly surface the reason for the price fluctuation. And tactic 3, never experiment in the dark. If you are running pricing tests to optimize your models, you simply cannot treat your users like uninformed lab rats. Frame your experiments ethically. If you really need to test price elasticity, do it transparently. Offer opt-ins if necessary, or, test via transparent discounts rather than hidden markups. You have to ensure that your algorithmic variations do not cross that line from helpful optimization into deceptive manipulation. So, let's bring this all together. A successful strategy requires a pretty precise formula. You absolutely need the mathematical optimization of AI to find value and drive margins, for sure. But you must combine that with radical transparency through your presentation layer, and then anchor the whole shebang with human oversight from a dedicated pricing steward. When you combine those 3 elements, the output is sustainable pricing. And that is a pricing model that users actually respect, rather than one they deeply resent. To wrap things up, I want to leave you with a final reality check. Your machine learning model might be 100% mathematically correct, but if your customer feels like they are being cheated, you have already lost. The ultimate question you have to ask yourself every single time you deploy a new model is this: are you building an algorithm or are you building a business? An algorithm is just math. A business is built on trust, empathy, and communication. Keep that in mind. Stop hiding behind vague algorithms and own your presentation layer. Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and keep building safely.